welcome to the Anti-Social Chat Show. My name is Eleanor Gould. I'm Creative Director at Creative Copywriting and also the founder of the Utterly Compelling Online Academy. And here is my host.
Hi there, my name is Tara Tomiko and I'm a business performance coach as well as a digital marketing consultant. And I am so excited to be here with you today, Eleanor, because it's the first episode of the year.
Yeah, and you might know, so I called you my host. Maybe I should just
really?
get you to run the whole show.
No, I feel like I might be a bit out of touch. We're almost at the end of January and here we are, but I don't like hosting this, but I'm sure you will.
Anyway, it's good to be back. And today we're talking about Instagram.
Yay!
Oh.
Specifically
Instagram stories, I believe.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Instagram as a whole, actually, because it's not up till now been a platform that I've been that active on. When I say I haven't been active on, yes, I share pictures of my dog and what's going on,
yeah.
But I haven't used it as so much as a business tool. And you see so many people, these Instagram influencers, and all the hype. And I do wonder about whether it is a real social currency, so to speak. For example, can you actually get leads and boost your business with an Instagram strategy, or is it just the people who are selling Instagram courses who are making money on Instagram? So, I've got a few thoughts, and I'd really like to know. And also, obviously, how do you do Instagram?
How do you do Instagram?
How do you do it properly? Because otherwise everybody, and do you need to be on Instagram? Who needs to be on Instagram? So I used to think it was just, for visual brands, fashion brands and all that. But actually, they're not the accounts I tend to follow. So.
Oh, well, you have so many questions in there. I'm like, I have an opinion about everything.
Of course.
Of course. First of all, I love your question about, does everyone need to be on Instagram? And I'm assuming you mean, small business owners and entrepreneurs, people who are trying to, make money, basically. Mm-hmm. I love that question. You know why? Whenever anybody asks me, do I need to be on there? My answer is always, what's your business objective? That's where I take it back to, because I really do believe that you don't have to be on every social media platform. I'm excited about Instagram right now. I'm excited to speak to you about it. But to answer that question, it really does depend. So horrible, isn't it? It depends, but it does depend on, on what your business objective is. And I don't think, because I've heard this a lot, I don't think it's a case of, my audience isn't on there, because let me tell you, to answer another question, I have shopped so much on Instagram. I've bought a bag, I've bought a stand for my Mac, and I've done this as an experiment. I wanted to see, when I interact with an ad on Instagram, what happens. And I'm now getting lots of Instagram stories ads on products that I like, because I've bought something from there. Now, bear in mind, that is e-commerce. I know it's slightly different to, if you have a service, but it works. Of course it works. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had the reason why I suddenly became interested all of a sudden is because all of a sudden I made a sale and I thought, hey, hang on, this is Instagram. How can, showing a picture of my dog, actually take that back. Obviously, my dog is gorgeous, so that's good.
Ellie is.
I ever could. So I get it, and then I have always said, I don't like stories. I'm an old Snapchat addict, as you know.
Right.
I'm not going to Instagram stories because I didn't really get it, and I don't watch people's stories. However, of late, I thought, no, I'm going to have a little go at this. And before you know it, I'm like, well, actually, this is quite good. You can get loads of engagement, and if you can actually be picked up by other stories if you use the right hashtag. But I've found that a trick or tip, if you like, is so you don't look so spammy and that you're using lots of hashtags, you actually put the hashtag underneath a little sticker or something, but it still gets picked up by the story.
I don't
That's
hide
a
mine.
tip for anybody who's listening. Hide your hashtags on the story.
I don't hide mine. I'm so proud of
Oh
mine.
well, you're just so out there. Obviously.
I see a lot of people make it really tiny. You can tell that they've done that.
I can't do that because I don't like fiddling about.
Well, that annoys me because then I want to see what it is. So I screenshot and then I zoom in on my. I'm very nosy like that. But yeah.
Oh, I'm dead nosy. When you said that you've been buying things, because being a copywriter I've been going in and having a look at people's bios, some really good, and also signing up to their lead magnets. And I've found some wonderful people. I thought, I didn't even know they existed.
Right.
Because before I was following a few, famous people accounts, boring,
Right.
and a few Instagram influencers, whatever that means. And they were dullards, it's more, as far as I weren't getting it. But what I love about Instagram stories and Instagram is the people who are dead, authentic on there. People who are just themselves, getting up in the morning, having a cup of coffee and, not without the makeup on, don't have to be on bikini on the beach. That's all lovely and everything. But I like the people who are just who they are. And I think it's really good. Yeah, it's really changed. Now I've started following different people. Obviously, it's mixing up my feed and, I'm meeting different people. So I'm really enjoying it at the moment.
Well, it's interesting because I was speaking with a friend and she said that most of her friends talk on Instagram now. And I've realized that I have also started communicating with my daughter on Instagram, whereas normally we use WhatsApp as a platform. But the reason is because, as everybody knows, well, maybe not everyone does know this, but Facebook owns Instagram. So,
hence the ads.
So the fact is that people are really drawn to Instagram because of the visual. Like, you don't have to be a visual person. I don't think I'm a visual person. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch because I've become more visual. And one of the things that I absolutely enjoy about Instagram stories is that it's so creative and you don't really need to be super creative to make it fun. It's not stuffy. Like, if you look at my Instagram feed, it's very structured. I have obviously a plan and so.
Oh, you're one of them, are you? One of them with a consistency.
Do you want to know why? Because Instagram works in terms of engagement. It does. Even with the spammy comments, it does work. You do get engagement. You can share it to your Facebook page. My business Facebook page is dead. And I will let everybody know the reason why I maintain my Facebook business page is because when I have a potential client who's getting ready to sign on the dotted line, they want to consume everything about me. And if they want help with Facebook, they want to see that I'm up to date. But that's not where I'm doing the engaging. But on the Instagram feed now, people will look at it. They will read the captions, which I try to give as much value as possible. But Instagram stories is where I can just let myself be professional, but also have a laugh, And some.
When I was talking about the feed, I meant is it called the grid?
Yeah,
so
that's what I call the feed.
It's supposed to be, consistent. And I've seen a lot of them where it's got a meme, something, lovely and flowery, then a meme, and it's all asymmetrical and everything's how it should be. And you know what? I think they're so tough. But as soon as I see that, everybody says that's what you're supposed to do because it comes across as professional. But when I see that, it puts me off a person. But then I will go into the stories and see what they're really all about. So as you know, my grid is a bit of it's like everything going on there.
I think what's important here is that we all have our own personal preferences and our tastes. And I know that as a copywriter, you like the written word, right?
No comment.
But there are people who are attracted to Instagram are attracted to the visual. So for some people, that is just absolutely fine. Personally, I find it a lot easier to have a structure because of the type of personality I have and the way that I structure my business. I'm about frameworks and processes and so forth. And I've noticed that when I've written longer captions, even though my feed or grid is very structured, there are no flowers though, because there's nothing girly about mine. But I've noticed that people will read what I've written and will comment on it. But I do like the contrast of having a very well organized feed. And then my highlights, if you check out the highlights of my Instagram story, it's very haphazard. It's very, you know, you can use the GIFs, the hashtags. It can be about business, personal.
Maybe it's like, you know, the grid is like the body, whereas then you go up into the mind and it's whoa.
Oh my God, I love that. No, you don't like the written word at all, do you, Eleanor? No. I think that's probably very, very true. There's a discipline part of Instagram. No, not everybody does it. And to me, it doesn't bother me if somebody has a haphazard feed. And I do like a mixture of personal. I think I should probably introduce a bit more personal into my feed. But yeah, once you get to the stories, I mean, when I last used Instagram stories, it wasn't as evolved as it is now. And can I just share one thing with everyone? And I haven't figured out how to do it yet, although I've tried. But you can make stickers of yourself and host it on Giphy. So you can brand, wait 1 second. And everyone, when I have figured out how to do this, I will definitely share it with you. But I'm going to give...
Wait to see that.
Wait, I'm going to give you 2 Instagrammers that you can follow to check this out. Okay, so let me see. It's Gary V and Social Bakers. When you next go to your stories and click on the sticker and then click on GIF and just type in Gary V and you'll see a selection of his stickers.
Oh, excellent.
Social Bakers and you'll see a collection of their stickers. And I spent a good hour and a half with, you know, picture of myself trying to, and, you know, I have an account on Giphy already set up and I haven't been able to figure it out. So I hope, you know, the ego and the vanity in me is like, I can't wait to have stickers of myself. However, from a very professional point of view, how this would work is you're really branding your business. You're taking your brand to that next level and using them in your stories. And that's something that was not happening last year when I was playing around. So it's definitely evolved and I like it. It's a bit of fun. It's not dry and, you know.
I like it when people ask questions or they have polls or you have that little slider when, how cute is this?
Right?
Do that in 2 seconds flat. It's fun. But moving on to something a bit more serious and something that kind of gets my go on Instagram is the whole follow, unfollow thing.
Okay.
I mean, please, I can't believe people are still doing that. I mean, when the growth hackers first come out on Instagram, that was the thing to do. Okay, I get it. But people still doing it. So you'll get, for example, for people who are listening, somebody will follow you. You'll think, oh, great. So you go and have a look at them. They've got like 30,000 followers and they're following 7. Pretty much as soon as you follow them, they're going to unfollow you or they're going to come in a few days later and follow you and do it by whatever app that is. Tool they're using. I find that just ridiculous. I mean, who are their followers? And as soon as I see it, I feel like calling that person out or that brand out and go, what are you doing? That's annoying. It's so annoying. I really dislike it. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, interestingly enough, when I used to have a job, I used a tool called Instagress to build up the following list. And I have to say that it's automated. It's not personal. They've not looked at your account and follow you and then unfollow you.
Obviously.
It's something that Instagram really had you know, tried to stop happening. But there are lots of tools out there that do this. There's an app called Cleanup or something, and it does the same thing. I think it's one of those things where it's part and parcel of social media. There's always going to be someone who's going to...
But why would anybody do that? What I'm trying to get out there is, you know, if you're listening and you're doing that, it looks bad.
I can tell you for why. I can tell you one reason for why. There are 2 reasons. A lot of brands and businesses, they are always looking for investment. And in my experience, again, in my JOB, the investors are not really that interested in social media per se to know the ins and outs. They only want the vanity numbers. So when an investor looks at a business and says, yeah, we're going to invest, the question is always, how many followers do you have? They don't ask, where are they from? Are they all from Bangladesh or, you know, some other country?
I did see a meme actually just yesterday, and it had this woman getting a loan at the bank, and it was, you know, a young, beautiful woman, and the question was, you know, how much money have you got? Sure, I haven't got any more, but I've got 100,000 followers on Instagram. Right. That is my assets. You know, my assets are. So that was quite amusing.
That still exists. That's just, and I think it's always going to be there. It doesn't matter how many times the Instagram says, hey,
kind of makes you think, why is it called social media then?
Well, it's evolved. And there's another reason, one that I discovered recently, and that is the being able to add a link to your stories. So, you know, when you do the swipe up, right now, the only capability I have is to add a link to my IGTV, right?
Yeah, and you have a certain number of followers, isn't it?
Once you have 10,000 followers, you can, you know, add a link to anything, to your blog posts and so forth. And that's going to be a motivator to a lot of people. They're not going to care where they're getting their followers from. They're just going to want that because that will help them drive traffic to their website and so forth. So when you think about it, when you're asking, well, why is it called social media? Well, it's not, is it? It's a platform for ads. That's the only reason why it's there.
The only reason social media exists is to, you know, let's face it, get data from people and sell to them.
Exactly.
We're the guinea pigs.
when Instagram came out, it was that vintage style photography. It's not that anymore. It's just, it isn't. And people are enjoying it. You know, we are enjoying some of the content. We are having fun with it. So I think looking at it as, you know, why would people do that? There's going to be a reason why people are doing it. But it doesn't change the fact that if you only have 400 followers, those 400 followers are paying you in your business, then you don't need 10,000 or 20,000.
Well, exactly. It's about
that
quality and quantity.
Exactly.
For most of the time. And the other question I was going to ask you, do you watch stories with the sound on?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. For me, if I'm watching an Instagram story, I don't expect there to be any subtitles or captions. So there are some who will add the caption in or will do a summary of what they're speaking about, and that's something that I'm going to aim to do as I use Instagram stories a bit more, because they put the sticker on, you know, sound on, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, it really is just going to depend, isn't it, on your audience, whether they want to listen to you. And something that I've noticed as well is some people are using Instagram stories for their members, their group. You know how, you run a Facebook group and you also have a few courses. And I know that you used Facebook group to speak to your members of your course. I've noticed that a lot of people are using Instagram stories for that. And that's kind of interesting, because if I have signed up for a course, and sorry, 1 second, I just realized I'm going to run out of battery. Give me a second. If I'm going to run a course and if I'm going to purchase a course and I want to speak to that course creator and they're doing a series of Instagram stories that's going to help me figure out what I'm doing next, obviously I'm going to put the sound on. And so I've noticed a particular person who does that and doesn't always have captions, but sometimes has a summary or just a series of videos. So it really depends. If you're really interested in what somebody has to say, if their lips are moving, and, you know, you'll turn the sound on. But in general, if you're there for a bit of entertainment, get a bit of information.
Yeah. I only asked to do the poll the other day and asked that very question, and it was 100% no, almost. Actually, someone said it depends. A couple of it depends, to be honest. But generally, it was no, and I don't either. And that's really interesting, because on Snapchat I did. I don't know if it's because if it's the way it's laid out. I don't know why I don't on stories, but as you mentioned, I do prefer text. Even on LinkedIn, I prefer if, you know, there's captions, or I don't turn the sound on anything. I like to read at my own pace. I don't like someone's face, you know, something in my face. I don't know if I've even ever turned it on. Maybe to see what someone sounds like.
It's probably just not being the platform for that. That's all it is. Because if on Snapchat you know, obviously Snapchat was out way before, that's just how it was used. But Instagram wasn't used like that before. There wasn't Instagram stories. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's what you're used to, and you can get really creative with Instagram stories without having sound. My plan is to do a mixture of both, to have sound, but to be speaking, to have some kind of audio, and not. And I think my advice to everyone would be just see how it works for you. You can tell from the stats, from the insights, you know, which posts, which stories are getting the most views and interaction and so forth. But something you mentioned that I did realize is very true. People can't resist answering a question. So that works more than just seeing somebody's face going blah, 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 blah. Although I did do one to highlight that we're having this show, and I did talking, captions, and a poll. Double, triple, wow. Well, I think if you're using Instagram stories, having a mixture, I think makes a lot of sense. Having, I'm a fan of tips and tutorials and guides and so forth. And
something else in a minute.
Sorry?
I said something else.
Oh, no. Eleanor, I'm a fan of tips, tutorials and guides.
Person, yeah.
However, I do like a mixture. I would like to see, the person's face. I'd like to see them talking. I'd like to turn the sound on and hear what they sound like and maybe quickly turn it off again and so forth. So I think it's one of those things where it's just got to be a bit of a variety. And very fortunately, you can do that with Instagram stories. So
actually, now, the more I think about it, your strategy makes sense to have, that structured grid, and then the hey, it's me at top. Actually, the more I think about that, so yeah, it's a good
but
tip.
Why do you say that it makes sense to have it structured and then have?
Because I'm just thinking about like what I said earlier, that you have the structured grid part where that's your more conservative part, and then up top it's your hey, this is me, so this is the person behind the scenes,
right?
Maybe so the story, the real you, the behind the scenes
right.
Maybe the grid is more toned down. I don't know. I've seen it very lots of different ways, but maybe that's a way where you can show both sides, your professional side and your personality as well. Maybe. Yeah. I'm just thinking.
I've also noticed that I have more people visiting my profile, clicking on my link and going to my feed from my stories. I can tell that I see the same person going there that wouldn't have had before. And I'm a fan of a two-tier approach to anything. Try to get them from all angles. So when I use these platforms, I always have my clients in mind, because as I said to you, I'm always asked the question, should I be here or should I be there? And sometimes clients just don't want to listen to what you have to say. They just want to be where they want to be. So I want to be on hand to at least give them some tips. And I've noticed that since I've been using Instagram stories, I'm constantly passing these tips over to one of my clients who is on Instagram stories. And it's one of those things you have to do in the moment. I'm like, do this. Oh, here's a great tip. Try this out. So that's pretty cool in that sense. That it's constantly evolving, and I'm enjoying it. I think Twitter has kind of died for me, because how much I love Twitter. Facebook is an overcrowded market now.
Facebook is Facebook.
It's
although I hear that they are going to be able, the stories from Facebook, you're going to be able to share them to Instagram. At present, you can share Instagram to Facebook, but I understand it's going to be Facebook to Instagram. And also with Facebook stories, you are going to be able to have links.
Ah, cool.
What I heard on Amanda Webb's Social Snacks, I think it's called. I think it might
okay.
Be, yeah. Okay. So that's the latest news on that. But yeah. Would you say it's a thumbs up? Instagram's a thumbs up for you?
I think it's definitely worth exploring, especially if anyone's tried it before. Have a look at it now. And the other thing I was going to mention as well, this was from listening to an episode of Perpetual Traffic, I do believe. But because Facebook is overcrowded in terms of ads, like it's getting way more expensive, more people are switching to Instagram ads. So they're turning off the Facebook audience when they're creating an ad, and to Instagram stories. And just to time with what I said when I bought some things from Instagram, from a feed on Instagram, now I'm seeing those ads in my Instagram stories. Mm-hmm. So something is working. It's it's something new. If you're considering doing Facebook ads, but you think you're spending too much money, then try and add on Instagram or Instagram stories. It's a little bit more expensive, I've heard, but the interaction can be a bit higher. It's worth testing out.
And now we're going to have lots of Instagram adverts, aren't we, setting up agencies left, right and centre?
But if they're fun and engaging and they're using all the tools that, you know, Instagram stories allows, I think that will be, I think it will be fine. You know, I think back to last year when it was like, oh, this year's all going to be about video. People want video. And then throughout the year, it's like, but you've got to put captions on your video because people do not listen to the sound on. And now we've kind of evolved into, oh, you know, Instagram stories is, you know, working pretty well. So, and you can obviously use video on Instagram stories and it cuts it for you now. When I did it before, it never cut it up for you. That was it. So we're just, everything to do in digital marketing is just evolving. So it will be interesting.
At quite a rapid rate.
Very rapid rate. It'll be interesting to see where we are next year. But for me, it's definitely a thumbs up. I'll be there.
I think Instagram, I can get into it. I'm going to have some more, you know, play about with it a bit more and see where it takes me. So, Tara, where can we find you on Instagram?
Well, I'm at Tara Tomiko. That's my handle. So I have stories there, and check out some of the highlights that I have. I have about 4 highlights there, so you can find me there. And I've said there about 5 times.
There, okay. I'm at, what was mine? Mine's creative copywriting handle, but we can leave the links below in the show notes. And have you got anything going on that you'd like to tell your audience about?
Well, I'm in the middle of preparing my first course. Mm-hmm. A little bit overwhelmed by you, Eleanor, because you are the course creator. But I'm delving into, I think I spoke about it a couple of months ago, I'm delving into doing, it'll probably be a little bit of a freebie course, but it's going to be very structured and more academic and less, you know, I don't like the woo-woo thing. So I will be a very strict teacher. So I'm working on that. And that's going to be based on building a signature solution for your business. There's a very clear path that you can show to your customers and so forth. So that's what I'm working on. But
I can't think of a better teacher, and for you to get people to get anybody who, you know, struggles with productivity and needs someone who, you know, get you to get things done and do that. I can't think of a better teacher.
Oh, thank you. Even though I must say I will be having a full refund to anyone who doesn't do the work and kick them off the course. So
excellent. Well,
it's to do the work, just so that everybody knows just exactly what kind of teacher I am. But very lovely words, thank you. But what I can share is I will let everybody know, and we'll put the link in the show notes. I do have a resource library, so head over to that. There's some guides and cheat sheets and so forth there, and I specifically have a very cheeky kind of Facebook ads copy, kind of like swipe file that I think you might find interesting.
Oh, I think I found that interesting. I'm going to go have a look.
What about you, Eleanor? What are you?
Well, I've got the.
Let me guess.
The Absolutely Compelling Online Academy that currently has 4 courses. One of them is free, so there's plenty of courses for freelancers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. We have a free one at the moment that focuses on positive mindset, which is very important for business. Something we forget. We're all doing the technical stuff, and we forget to look after ourselves. So that's a free course, totally free. You don't even have to sign up your email for it, but I'll leave the link to the academy.
Right, so they just click on the link and they're in there.
Not even you just go onto it and
Oh, that's really, what a great idea. Okay, cool.
Okay, so that's love, peace, and great copy from me.
And that's ciao ciao from me. Bye everyone.
Bye.